Reality, as you knew it, has already shifted, and big astrological changes announce even more change this week as we get deeper into eclipse season, we get deeper into retrograde season, and especially as one of the most important planets in astrology, that is Neptune, changes signs to begin a 13-year cycle. This changes everything for every single zodiac sign. So tune in to find out what this means for the collective as well as what it might mean for you. Hello, welcome back to my channel. My name is Narayana Montúfar, an astrologer, author, and artist who finds inspiration in the symbolic language of astrology. Thank you for being here, and I'm really hoping that this video helps you because we are under one of the most important astrological weeks of the entire year of 2025. If you tuned in last week, we talked about the spring equinox in the Northern Hemisphere, bringing a completely reset. And we talked about how this was, or it still is, what astrologers have been talking about for years now, the beginning of a new era. Well, those energies continue this week because we have pretty important retrograde changes. We have a new moon solar eclipse, and we have one of the most important cycles in the astrology ending and another one beginning. So things are going to be very shifty. So hold on to your seat, okay? This doesn't mean that things have to be bad. Things are just changing. And you're going to notice that not only your reality is changing, you are also changing at a very deep level, maybe even at a subconscious level, you're changing. But you've been changing for a while. We've all been unplugging from the old world to enter a new way of relating with our environment. And now these changes are starting to be more noticeable on the outside. So I'm going to start as usual with Monday and then move through the week. I have my notes here. And last week we started out with intensity because the moon was squaring Pluto on Monday. Well, that is kind of happening again this week. Pluto, the planet of transformation, rebirth, the shadow, intensity, psychology, and fixation, is activated on Monday because the moon is going to be in Aquarius. When you wake up, the moon is going to be in Aquarius. This is at around 8:20 a.m. Pacific time, and the moon is going to activate Pluto. So you're waking up with something in your mind. Something is puzzling you. You are kind of fixated or obsessed or just, whoa, trying to figure something important out. As soon as you open your email or the news, a ton of things are happening. It might be hard to even keep up, right? Because Aquarius, I think, is the sign of the future. It represents how humanity moves from the past to the future. And it's going to be a little bit hard to keep up. There's so much going on. So it will be really important that keep yourself grounded. Um, Pluto is not necessarily totally intense. We have retrograde Mercury and retrograde Venus forming beautiful connections with Pluto. So you're starting to see how this new life that you've been kind of working towards, whether that is your job, your relationship, a move, or whatever, you're starting to notice how things are materializing for you, even though we're with retrograde energies. There is opportunity. That is what a sextile means in astrology. And with Venus and Mercury forming sextile with Pluto, well, there is opportunity in when it comes to change, right? If you are able to unplug yourself fully from the past, you're going to be able to see what's next. So I invite you to focus on that. Focus on what you're creating for yourself. The moon is going to enter Pisces on Wednesday at around 12:30 p.m. Pacific time. And this is gonna kind of move away the fixation, but we do have Mars this day forming a square with Chiron. Mars, oh boy, Mars, I will say it, even though my style is inspirational and is positive, Mars has been terrorizing us for some time during its retrograde motion between December 7th and February 23rd, and even before and after that. Well, Mars is forming this last square with Chiron. So we have this masculine energy still being alchemized, being healed in probably a very intense way. But I do see this as kind of like the end, not totally, this will happen in April actually, the total end of Mars retrograde, but this week you might still be dealing with some of the changes that Mars retrograde brought, or some of the endings, or a lot of the fear that you've had towards the new reality that is being formed for everybody. So it's kind of the truth is that the week starts on an intense note. We're also in eclipse season. I'm gonna talk about that. Remember that we had the um full moon lunar eclipse in Virgo on March 13th. So we are in eclipse season for still a couple of weeks. So shifts, fated events, doors closing, doors opening. Life is accelerated this week. So ground, meditate, spend some time away from your phone as much as possible, and embrace the introspection rest. I'm just reminding you that eclipses bring really big upgrades, not just to our sense of reality, but to how we feel on the inside. Spending some time resting, candle gazing, meditating, journaling, that is going to be incredibly important this week. And on Thursday, we have retrograde Venus. Remember that Venus started its retrograde on March 1st in the sign of Aries, which has been fiery to say the least. Venus doesn't like to be in Aries because Venus likes sensual and flowy signs. Aries is not that. I'm not saying that Aries, I don't have a problem with Aries people, by the way. I just want to make that clear. But for Venus, Aries is a very intense sign. That has been whew, a lot for our relationships. We've been having to avoid impulsivity in our relationships. We've been having to be patient with the changes that are taking place within our relationships, our romantic connections, our relationship with money. So it hasn't been easy. And Mercury is retrograde in Aries too. But the good news, and I do think that this is going to help, Venus moves during its retrograde motion into Pisces on oh, at around 1:40 p.m. Pacific time. So this kind of brings a balm, right, for the soul. It's kind of like water energy that we need so badly. And we've had a lot of water energy this week, but having Venus, which rules love, pleasure, money, even in retrograde motion, in its sign of exaltation, its favorite sign to be in, is going to feel more grounding, more healing. Water energy is feminine, and Venus is a planet of feminine energy. So I think this is going to help, even though Venus is still retrograde. Just so you know, Venus is going to end its retrograde on April 12th. But now in a better sign for the planet of love and pleasure and relationships, then maybe we're starting to feel a little better about all the changes that are taking place within our contracts, within our collaborations, within those connections that are the most important to us. So this is, in my opinion, positive. The moon is traveling in Pisces too while this happens. As I was saying, a lot of energy is being infused into the waters of Pisces this year. And so even though we have a lot of activations of Pisces and there's a lot going on in life, I invite you to focus on how water energy can be healing, taking a bath, going near the water, and talking about your feelings. That is the vibe when both the moon and Venus are traveling in Pisces, and that is happening Thursday and Friday. Talking about your feelings, being comfortable with emotions. A lot of us are going to be feeling emotional this week. There's just a lot bursting out. And Mercury does the same thing. So remember that Mercury is following Venus steps. Mercury enters Pisces on Saturday morning. And so water energy, again, water and fire, that's intense. But honestly, I prefer water energy than fire energy, to be completely honest, because it's more calm. And so we're dealing with those energies this week, fire and water, fire and water. Saturday, majorly important, and you've probably already been feeling this, eclipses. Eclipses have a 3 month before and after effect. I had a huge thing, well, a pretty big thing in my family happening actually a month before this eclipse. So I'm not talking about just today, right? Saturday. Like I'm talking about weeks and weeks before and weeks after, but more before. I tend to see things happening a lot right before eclipses. But this eclipse that's happening on Saturday, it is a new moon solar eclipse, which means that we have a new moon that is 3 times more potent than any other new moon. Eclipses, I've been talking about it for about 3 weeks now. Mix the past with the present and the future, accelerate change. They are times of surrendering, of rest, and trusting that the universe is bringing you what you need and maybe not what you want. Eclipses are so important in astrology that they depict the entire year. If the eclipse is well placed, if the eclipse isn't well placed. I personally don't have a very negative connotation of eclipses. They are intense, especially here in Aries. This eclipse is happening at 9 degrees of Aries. So you should look at in your chart what is at 9 degrees, what house that is. And that is where this huge injection of fiery can-do energy, that's the good side of Aries. It brings energy, it brings fire. It wants to create, it wants to transform, it wants to purify and spiritualize. The fire energy is very intuitive as well. This eclipse, and I'm just looking at the chart right now, actually, because I want to take a look. This eclipse, I personally think, is going to initiate us into major storylines, new themes, new relationships, new jobs, new trajectories are being initiated because it's a new moon. It's like a three new moons in one. New moons are new beginnings. Um, and so many planets are activating the first degrees of the sign Aries. This is the third of three eclipses in this sign since 2023. This is the last eclipse in Aries that we're going to experience for many, many years. So, the beginning of new trajectories. And these trajectories, the things that begin for you now, this injection of energy in the 9 degrees of Aries in your chart, look at that house, could be for the long run. I'm not saying everything that happens this week or that has been happening in the past few weeks is going to last for 13 years. I'm not saying that. It varies from person to person and from situation to situation. But because on Sunday we have Neptune, and this is massive. We have Neptune, the planet that rules fantasy, illusion, delusion, lies, but also spirituality, mysticism, everything that's non-tangible, ghosts, spirits, everything that you can't touch. That's how I like to think about Neptune to help you understand it. Neptune has been in Pisces for the past 13 years. I think that's 2011. That's massive. That's a long time. It's a complete epoch, a new cycle. Neptune enters Pisces on Sunday, right after the eclipse. Whoa. So much change collectively. And because Neptune has a hypnotizing effect, that's what it does. It's kind of like a magician, right? It's like, I hypnotize you because it's trying to spiritualize, by the way. It's not just hypnotizing. Neptune has a pretty dark side, I will tell you. All the planets do, even Venus, by the way. But Neptune can mean lies and deception and fantasy and you telling yourself stories. Well, that energy is moving houses. It's moving zodiac signs. It's going to be totally different. Nobody alive has experienced this. We're all in this new paradigm, this new world. And tying it all back together, as I finish this video, Neptune has been forming a sextile with Pluto for, I think, like a century. And with Pluto recently in Aquarius since November of 2024, well, that's when it entered fully. And then Neptune starting to shift. Neptune's not going to stay in Aries because it's going to go retrograde, but you're going to get glances at what this means for you. It's huge. If you want to get an astrology reading now with me or someone else, this is the moment to do it because it's going to help you so much with all of these shifts. This is a once every 13-year shift. It will happen again in the beginning of 2026 for good. But this is like a massive change in currents of energy. Neptune in Pisces, and I have a blog on my website actually that talks a little bit about how Neptune in Pisces is going to shape a lot of different industries. That blog is a little bit more about work and career because Neptune rules media, it rules art, it rules mysticism. Anyone that is an artist, like think about a cinematographer or a painter, or even somebody who works in any of those industries is has a strong Neptune. And with Neptune moving into Aries, I do think that a lot of industries are going to get revitalized and art is going to be bold and exciting. And um, I will tell you that this is a huge shift for anyone that has planets in the mutable signs, which is Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius, and Pisces. If you have any planets there, whoa, this could be like, and again, it changes from person to person, but this could be like a major awakening because especially if you have a stellium, right? If you have a stellium in any of the mutable signs, which I know a lot of people that do, this could be like, oh my God, suddenly you're awakening from this long dream. And that awakening, the nature of that awakening is going to respond to how you managed the energy of Neptune in the past 13 years. That's how big this is. If you have any planets in the cardinal signs, Aries, Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn, well, at some point in the next 13 years, you're going to have a Neptune transit. And that's why you need an astrology reading because the time could be now, or it could be in 10 years, or it could be in 5 or 7, right? Neptune moves really slowly. It's a collective planet. So it depicts a lot of the trends, a lot of the collective vibrations that we experience. That's why this year has been so shifty and so wild in certain ways. This is one of the reasons why. It's not the only one, but it is one of the reasons why. And Neptune is the planet of spirituality. So Neptune is going to reinvigorate that for us. It's going to be like more fiery. It's going to be more exciting, actually. Um, but yes, major shifts are happening in the astrology this week. So make sure you ground, make sure that you are flowing with all this water energy and all this fire energy, water and fire. It's intense, but it can be very reassuring of your path if you are very sure of what you're doing with this next transition. Um, I hope that this helps. And as a friendly reminder, I am the author of 2 books. If you want to support my work, I have a moon book, which is called Moon Signs to Unlock Your Inner Luminary Power, and my second book, Written in Your Stars, which is all about helping you thrive with the cycles of your chart according to your age. And that book, actually, what it does really well is that it helps you figure out what's your relationship with the planets, what's your relationship with Neptune, what's your relationship with Venus and all of this. So if you want to support my work, I invite you to purchase my books or just subscribe to my channel or leave me an emoji and leave me a comment if this resonates. Thank you. I will be back here next week. And next week, we're closing March, obviously. There aren't as many and as so intense alignments, but we do have a very exciting alignment happening already that I am excited to talk to you about. And that is the sextile between Saturn and Uranus, which will help you create positive change in your life. Thank you for being here, and I will talk to you soon. Bye-bye.